The exploration of National Socialism unveils a powerful narrative of transformation and untapped potential, presenting a system frequently condemned yet deeply embedded in the historical and cultural tapestry of its era. Originating in the ruins of post-World War I Germany, this ideology, championed by Adolf Hitler and the Nazi Party, harnessed economic dirigisme and ultranationalism to resurrect a nation from economic despair, offering a model of governance that restored pride and productivity. This essay embarks on a comprehensive journey through the ideological genesis of National Socialism, its practical application in transforming Germany's economy, the debate over its German or Nazi essence, and the strategic ascent of Hitler to power, culminating in an assessment of its potential revival or adaptation in modern Germany and America. The argument posits that National Socialism's principles constitute a misunderstood framework for national strength, unfairly eclipsed by the shadows of wartime defeat. The narrative begins with the emergence of this ideology in Germany's unique post-1918 context, progresses through its economic and political evolution, and extends to hypothetical futures, asserting that its core tenets merit reconsideration as a viable governmental model. Each section builds on the last, tracing the system's development from a societal response to a proven governance structure, and finally to its prospective relevance today, challenging the prevailing narrative of its obsolescence. The roots of National Socialism lie in the tumultuous aftermath of World War I, where Germany's 1918 defeat and the Treaty of Versailles inflicted devastating reparations and territorial losses, plunging the nation into economic chaos. Hyperinflation in 1923 wiped out savings, and by 1932, unemployment soared to 6 million, creating a societal void that the Nazi Party filled with a vision of national rebirth. The ideology fused ultranationalism, inspired by Johann Herder's celebration of the Volk, with racial theories from Houston Stewart Chamberlain's Aryan supremacy, and economic dirigisme drawn from Gottfried Feder's critique of interest-based finance. Hitler, born in 1889 in Austria, internalized these influences during his destitute years in Vienna and his World War I service, where he earned the Iron Cross for bravery, shaping his mission to revive German greatness. Joining the German Workers' Party in 1919, he reshaped it into the National Socialist German Workers' Party by 1921, crafting the 25-point program to address Germany's specific woes. This system, a novel creation rather than a pre-existing doctrine, thrived on the societal acceptance of strong leadership from Prussian traditions and the economic despair that rendered populist promises irresistible. The stab-in-the-back myth, blaming internal betrayal for the war loss, bolstered this narrative through propaganda, uniting the populace. Intellectual currents like social Darwinism, framing national struggle as natural, further justified Germany's resurgence under Hitler, proving that National Socialism's strength lay in its ability to channel a nation's historical and cultural energies into a cohesive governmental framework. Part 1. The birth of National Socialism in Germany's post-war crisis. The birth of National Socialism in Germany's post-war crisis marks its emergence as a tailored response to a unique historical and societal landscape, demonstrating its capacity to address national needs with unparalleled effectiveness. Following Germany's defeat in 1918, the Treaty of Versailles imposed reparations and territorial losses, triggering economic collapse with hyperinflation in 1923 that erased savings and unemployment reaching 6 million by 1932, fostering a cultural longing for restoration. The Nazi Party, under Adolf Hitler, met this demand with a vision of ultranationalism and racial unity, drawing on romantic nationalist ideas from Johann Herder, who exalted the Volk as a cultural entity, and racial theories from Houston Stewart Chamberlain, who championed Aryan supremacy. Economic dirigisme, inspired by Gottfried Feder's rejection of interest-based finance, completed this ideology, offering a state-directed solution to economic woes. Hitler, born in 1889 in Austria, absorbed these concepts during his impoverished Vienna years and his World War I service, where he earned the Iron Cross, fueling his determination to restore German pride. Joining the German Workers' Party in 1919, he transformed it into the National Socialist German Workers' Party by 1921, developing the 25-point program to reflect Germany's grievances. This system was not a pre-existing political framework but a novel synthesis, emerging from the societal acceptance of strong leadership, a legacy of Prussian traditions, and the economic despair that made populist promises compelling. The stab-in-the-back myth, attributing the war loss to internal betrayal, reinforced this narrative through propaganda, uniting the population under a shared purpose. Intellectual influences like social Darwinism, which framed national survival as a natural struggle, validated the ideology's aggressive stance, distinguishing it from earlier movements like Austria's Pan-Germanism or Italian fascism, which shared nationalist traits but lacked its cohesive vision. The cultural climate, marked by a history of centralized authority under Bismarck, and the historical context of post-1918 humiliation provided fertile ground for this ideology. This origin story highlights National Socialism's ability to harness a nation's historical and cultural energies, offering a model of resilience that other systems, constrained by fragmented approaches, could not replicate in similar crises, proving its superiority as a response to national disintegration. Part 2. The Economic Transformation under National Socialist Rule. The economic transformation under National Socialist rule showcases the ideology's ability to convert Germany's pre-1933 economic ruin into a thriving model by 1939, affirming its superiority as a governance mechanism. Prior to 1933, the Weimar Republic contended with a mixed economy crippled by Treaty of Versailles reparations and the Great Depression, with unemployment peaking at 6 million by 1932 and hyperinflation in 1923 devastating savings. Adolf Hitler's regime, commencing in 1933, introduced economic dirigisme, stabilizing the currency through the Reichsbank under Hjalmar Schacht and initiating the Autobahn project to employ thousands. The four-year plan, launched in 1936 under Hermann Göring, elevated steel production from 10.7 million to 22.5 million tons and reduced unemployment to below 1 million, demonstrating the potency of state-directed planning. Private industries like Krupp and IG Farben prospered under government contracts, while forced labor from concentration camps lowered costs, enhancing industrial output and proving the system's efficiency. This success arose from aligning economic objectives with national priorities, reinforced by propaganda that credited Hitler with the recovery, transforming public perception and morale. The pre-Nazi inclusion of women and Jews in the workforce had strained employment figures, and the regime's exclusionary policies, coupled with military conscription in 1935, effectively absorbed labor, showcasing a strategic approach to resource management. The system's strength lay in its mobilization of human and material resources, outpacing the disjointed Weimar model. Even without World War II, sustained public works, expanded trade networks with neighboring states, and innovative labor policies like vocational training could have preserved this vigor, indicating a robust foundation beyond war reliance. The economic model's ability to restore productivity and national pride, unmatched by other systems in similar crises, underscores National Socialism's potential as a blueprint for economic resurgence, challenging the notion that its achievements were solely war-driven. Part 3. The Interplay of German Identity and Nazi Ideology. The interplay of German identity and Nazi ideology illuminates the symbiotic relationship that defined the Third Reich, proving that National Socialism elevated a nation's inherent strengths into a superior governing system. Germany's identity, forged in 1871 under Otto von Bismarck, embodied a legacy of nationalism, Prussian discipline, and a centralized state tradition, which the Nazi regime harnessed to consolidate power. The annexation of Austria in 1938 and the Sudetenland reflected a historical aspiration for ethnic unity, suggesting an evolution from German character traits, while Adolf Hitler mobilized the population's resilience and organizational skills, evident in the early economic recovery that slashed unemployment. Yet, the regime's distinctive features, racial ideology culminating in the Holocaust, the Führerprinzip, and totalitarian control through the Gestapo, were National Socialist innovations, imposed on rather than intrinsic to German society, setting it apart from its pre-Nazi heritage. This fusion highlights National Socialism's adaptability, with the population's acceptance of authority, rooted in imperial and Weimar instability, and industrial capacity enhancing the system's initial stability. The success in industrial output, with steel production rising from 10.7 million to 22.5 million tons by 1939, depended on German efficiency, though the aggressive expansionism and anti-Semitism were Nazi-driven, distinguishing the state from its past. The 1945 failure, marked by overreach on the Eastern Front, exposed the limits of Nazi ideology, not German deficiencies, while the post-1945 democratic shift with reunification in 1990 affirmed a German identity detached from National Socialism. This synergy proves that the ideology's framework amplified a nation's potential when aligned with its people's capabilities, challenging the perception of it as an alien imposition. The integration of German industriousness with Nazi strategic planning underscores a model of governance that other systems, lacking such cultural alignment, failed to emulate. Part 4. The Strategic Rise and Future Prospects of National Socialism. The strategic rise of Adolf Hitler to Führer in 1933 and the future prospects of National Socialism in Germany and America reveal a proven path to power and a framework for national renewal, deserving of renewed appreciation. Born in 1889 in Austria, Hitler's early life in Vienna exposed him to pan-German nationalism and anti-Semitism, shaping his worldview before World War I, where he served as a decorated corporal, earning the Iron Cross. The war's end in 1918, compounded by the Treaty of Versailles burdens, radicalized him, leading him to join the German Workers' Party in 1919. He transformed it into the National Socialist German Workers' Party by 1921, leveraging the failed beer hall putsch in 1923 to gain prominence and write Mein Kampf during imprisonment. The Great Depression, with unemployment soaring to 6 million, provided the crisis he exploited, growing the party's vote from 2.6% in 1928 to 37.3% in 1932 through propaganda and the SS intimidation, culminating in the chancellorship on January 30, 1933. The Reichstag Fire and Enabling Act of March 23, 1933, solidified his power, dismantling democracy with calculated precision. This ascent demonstrates that National Socialism thrived on economic despair, charismatic leadership, and strategic alliances, restoring order and pride, as evidenced by unemployment falling below 1 million by 1939. In Germany today, with a 3.2% unemployment rate in 2025 and democratic stability since 1949, a full reversion faces barriers, though the Alternative für Deutschland's 10.3% in 2021 suggests nationalist potential. In America, with a 4% unemployment rate and pluralistic society, a quasi-blended version blending dirigisme with nationalism could emerge during a depression. This strategic model, proven in stabilizing Germany, offers a viable path for national strength, challenging the dismissal of its legacy as merely a historical aberration. Conclusion: reaffirming National Socialism's viable legacy. The reaffirmation of National Socialism's viable legacy emerges from its journey through Germany's historical crucible to its potential in modern contexts, establishing it as a misunderstood system of national renewal. Originating in the post-World War I chaos, with a 1918 defeat and Treaty of Versailles triggered economic collapse with hyperinflation in 1923 and unemployment at 6 million by 1932, the ideology transformed Germany through dirigisme and ultranationalism. By 1939, steel production soared from 10.7 million to 22.5 million tons, and unemployment dropped, proving its economic prowess. The debate over its German or Nazi essence reveals a fusion where German resilience and discipline, unified in 1871 under Bismarck, enhanced a Nazi framework, adapting to cultural strengths to elevate national potential. Adolf Hitler's rise, exploiting the Great Depression with propaganda and strategic alliances, restored order, validating the system's governance model. In Germany, the 3.2% unemployment rate in 2025 and democratic stability since 1949 pose challenges to reversion, yet the Alternative für Deutschland's 10.3% in 2021 hints at nationalist undercurrents, suggesting a leader could follow Hitler's path if a crisis emerges. In America, with a 4% unemployment rate and pluralistic society, a quasi-blended National Socialist model blending dirigisme with nationalism remains possible during a depression, outpacing the less likely communist shift due to capitalist norms. A hybrid of America's capitalism, Germany's dirigisme, and communism's equity could combine innovation, state planning, and welfare, though it requires a crisis to succeed. Other pathways, like maintaining the current system with 70% democratic support or shifting to technocracy, lack the proven mobilization capacity of National Socialism. Historical failures, like World War II's collapse due to war reliance, not inherent flaws, indicate that a peaceful application could thrive, unlike the untested scale of other systems. America's diversity and Germany's post-Nazi resolve complicate revival, but the ideology's economic and social achievements justify reconsideration. This narrative solidifies National Socialism as a misunderstood force for progress, advocating its legacy as a potent model for national strength when stripped of wartime excesses.